to tag every fire escape. Once we've tagged every fire escape, what's the next step? We hit the reds, yellows, or whites. Which ones we hit first?
Reds.
Hit all the reds. That'll take a little while. Then what do we hit next? The yellows. And you guys got a way of moving people. I don't know. You use voice, you use calm conversation, and use what else? What else do you guys use to make people move along?
Citations.
Citations, fees, fines, closures. You know, all those great things. But so you write a violation from now on that says repair, paint, test, and you get a call back from your client and says, from the owner of the building says, what is this? I've 30 years I've owned this building, you've never busted my cannolis about this, what do I do? He says, oh, well, what part of the problem do you have? It says here, repair, paint, test. What do you want me to repair? So, oh, then you want to read inspections, and I'll read it to you, and this is how we answered that question, so you don't have to answer this anymore. In layman's terms, the city official, which could be code or fire, and up here happens to be fire, driving this now, right? Is looking for a registered structural engineer or others qualified and acceptable by the fire code official to do a critical examination in lieu of a live load test. Criteria submitted and discussed prior to inspection, and issues a written verification and certification that all connections are free of internal rust or rot, as well as all original hardware, square head, bolts and rivets are reinforced or replaced in lieu of a live load test. I think that's pretty clear, that you want this guy to go get a professional. So sometimes you say, well, I got an architect, can I use my architect? What do you say, Ben?
Architects know nothing about structural.
Well, that's your choice, because in some states they allow architects.
Yeah.
So what do you want to do with that architect? If all of a sudden he says, you know, I got this great architect that knows the whole building, has always worked with my building, what do you want that architect to do with you?
Demonstrate his qualification.
Well, so you're saying that others qualified and acceptable to you, so on a case-by-case basis, you'll always accept a structural, but then all of a sudden he throws you another professional, what do you say? Have him call me.
We've never allowed anything other than.
No, it's okay. I'm just, you know, just this is a national way of looking at it, but say, have them call me and we'll see. Because can you have that architect be involved in this process and then say, at the end, can you have a structural engineer sign off for the final on this? Will that satisfy you?
Sure, as long as there's stamps on it.
Right, right. So all of a sudden you say, hey, Mr. Registered Architect, why don't you get this thing going, start doing all the necessary information, and then make sure that at the end, use one of your buddies, and every architect knows a structural engineer. Do what? Give me the structural stamp at the end, right? So that helps there. All supports, through bolts, or cemented into the wall must be verified and certified in lieu of a live load test. A fire escape confidence test and tags must be submitted if fire escape passed. The report with photos identifying violations for repairs must include repair criteria submitted to the official for repair vendor to use it as a guide during and with engineer oversight of permitted repairs. Anybody want to do any different than that? Or is that's sort of putting all the pressure on the structural engineer, right? A fire escape confidence test and tags identifying certification conditions are then submitted. Recommended cycle for live load testing is 20 years after total refurbishment or as required by official. So have your registered professional read that and then call me. So you just fax that, email that. You go to seattle.gov. The confidence test is downloadable right online. Aside from all the other testings, they have sprinkler test documents there. They have alarm testing documents. They said, well, yeah, I've got my guy, and what's my repair guy do? Well, you got Joe, the iron guy from down the street to do the job? Yeah. Well, have Joe read this next one. In layman's term, the city official is looking for a qualified, licensed repair vendor. So, what's Joe's? He's the local landscaper. I don't think Joe's going to be able to pull this permit. I need somebody in the trade, an iron worker, metal worker, general contractor with subbing capabilities, you know, to do all the work on the repair permit, if required. Because believe it or not, in some places, they still don't want a repair permit. But does that mean now that they don't want a repair permit for that vendor, that he doesn't have to be licensed or insured? Does it also mean that you don't want engineer oversight? Or are you just going to let this guy repair what he feels should be repaired? Because if he repairs what he feels should be repaired, what are you going to order? If they skip number one, and they do number two without your consent or involvement, There's no oversight, there's no control of any kind, what are you gonna order on them anyway?
An engineer's report. Oversight. Oh, okay.
What are you gonna order?
Load test.
Load test. So let them play, let them skirt around this issue and do all these things, and say, hey, and call you up when it's done, hey, it's painted, come on down. Say, oh, I'll be right there, man. Ah, this looks good. When's the load test? What are we talking about? Wow. Well, I sent you the paper. You chose to ignore the oversight thing here. You chose to ignore the, looks like you repaired a bunch of things here too, and I don't know what, but now I need you to load test it. Well, who's gonna load test it?
Good question.
It's the engineer needs to bring your load test criteria to you. And use some vendor to basically administer the load test. So the load test means that the engineer is gonna get called back in because he has to do what kind of inspection before he load tests it?
Certified.
He has to do a confidence test. Because he may walk this freshly painted fire escape and say, I can't load test this, it's got rust in the connection still. The guy just painted everything. He says, oh, well then I guess we need to get that fixed because I'm still waiting for my load test. So will you force a load test in the as-is condition, or you basically are waiting for the opinion of this engineer says, well, it's not ready for a load test, we have to do some other things. Oh, then get those other things done and then I need a load test. So either way, you gotta force them back, because as soon as you say the word load test, who needs to be brought in?
Engineer.
The engineer. He's coming, one way or the other. If you never get off load test, it's always coming. So, to do work on the repair permit, if required, with engineer oversight or a construction plan, of repair criteria submitted for approval to the official in lieu of a load test. And by the way, submitted to who? To you? Or to the code official? So you get to see it because you just you're part of the mix, but right now that there's a repair problem, you're out of the mix. Now it's gonna go to the other guy. You're just making sure that it's going down the right path. But then you sort of step up because now it's really sitting at code now. All connections must be free of internal rust or rot. We have a confidence test that will ask those questions. Spot prime and sealed. All worn material repaired and replaced. All supports into the wall must be reinforced, repaired, or certified in the fire escape confidence test in lieu of a load test. All square head bolts, rivets, and welded connections must be certified, reinforced, or replaced based on age or condition. All ladders, cantilevers must be balanced and drop 2 to 3 feet per second, hit the ground and stay down, and must lead to a public way. All roof ladders must be secure. No full painting of any fire escape until spot repairs are inspected and certified under engineer oversight and/or city official permit sign-off. So you're gonna let these guys paint the fire escape before all the repairs are done?
All they're gonna do is hide it.
So if you have a 10-story, can we do it in phases? Can we pass, the first 5 stories, let them get painting on that, and then while they still continue forward? There's a lot of things you can do, but the main thing is, who's really signing off on that? Is it the building department or this engineer oversight guy?
Engineer.
So you're basically putting this back in where it was originally intended, which is back to the engineers to do a proper oversight inspection. You don't let buildings be built without architects and engineers. You don't let anything be done without architects and engineers. Why were we letting a fire escape being repaired without engineer oversight and more? No, there was in the past, nationwide, it was. So now, if they choose to fully replace the fire escape, guess what happens? Permits, and it's gonna be upgraded to a new code anyway. So that's part of here. So now let's talk about the painting. Because it said, oh, you know what, me and my sister are gonna paint the fire escape after everything is done. So, oh, that's great. You can paint the fire escape, just make sure you're not breaking the law, because the EPA says whether you're an owner or not, everybody must be EPA renovator, must have your EPA renovator's license, which is, in layman's terms, the city official is looking for a paint vendor, EPA certified renovator if required, to do all the work as per EPA guidelines, due to the fact that all fire escapes older than 1978 are presumed to have lead, based on the EPA standard, unless identified as no lead or low lead by a licensed lead inspector from the state of Maine. So you might have an occasion where you go to a fire escape and like, hey, here's the paper, it's got no lead, so scrape away. Very small percentage. Everything is usually the orange-based, lead-based paint, primers. The entire building will be notified with signage, and all precautions shall be taken to collect paint chips at grade. No sandblasting or power-assisted scraping without full fire escape encapsulation on the EPA guidelines. All major connections shall be sealed with from water intrusion before, during, and after painting. All escapes should be spot painted every 3 to 5 years. fully painted every 5 to 10 years, or as needed or ordered by the fire code official. So we wrote this for you guys to have sitting on a desk somewhere, and this is actually a document that you can just copy and paste this and put it into your own sheets. If you have repairs and procedures guidelines, just copy and paste, because we gave you the Word document. You just grab this stuff and just drop it on your own paperwork if you don't like this layout.
Now, what about the fact it says copyrighted on here?
Well, it's on, you can take that out. I mean, the copyright means that we just did it. We're giving you the permission to republish ours.
Okay.
So it's not, what this is for somebody else that's a fire escape guy that wants to look like us, be like us, we say, hey, what are you doing? Oh, the city has, yeah, the city has permission. And a lot of our documentation that says, any municipalities, any states, any cities they can use this information. And this is on our National Farescape website, you know what I'm saying? So, National Farescape Association, our intended members in the future is gonna be fire officials, building officials, and housing inspectors. That's what the membership is gonna be made of. Our intention is to have it, you know, obviously something that's either no fee or very low fee for you guys to be, because you're gonna register your department, not, you know, individuals, but from that. And the people that are gonna be paying to basically fund the National Farescape Association is painting companies, welding companies, ironwork companies. They're gonna be basically getting in there to become members of an association. So let's talk about the confidence test. This confidence test that you see here is one that I designed and developed because there wasn't one in the United States. So I said, there's no final exam for the structural engineer, there's no confidence test. So I created one. I was brought out to Seattle because 3 guys were having a smoke on the 3rd floor on a fire escape that was screwed into a wood structure. And it pulled away and they fell to the ground. They didn't die, but they got maimed enough to cause lawsuits till the present day. So when I came out there and I gave a class just like this, you know, lengthier class, I said, I have a confidence test. So, and they copywritten confidence test, but they copied all my questions. And they made, with my permission, they were allowed to copy, you know, good questions. So there's 2 parts. Page 1 is nothing but like, hi, what's your name, what's your licenses? Page 1. Page 2, it's testing. The fire escape, it has a general part, which is about the paint and, you know, just the general, you know, windows work, the locks work, there's no electric nearby, you know, simple stuff. But then you go into materials and strength. And this is when it basically says, if you look at the structural notes, it says structure exterior. All critical materials, oh, I'm sorry. All critical materials, connections and or joints are 100% free.
I've been through what it does in time. So
Okay. Are free of internal rust or rot. This is what this engineer is attesting to. That he's verified every single one of those connections.
Do you have this in a form that we can like take Boston Fire off of?
Yeah, he's already, I already
Yeah,
gave this.
I've got it, I can email it to you, it's in a Word document.
Yeah,
Can you do that?
yeah. We did a Portland version of this. And it has your code.
And I'm still working on modifying it for us so I can post it on our website.
So,
It's kind of like you gotta have the forms ready to go before you can really implement a plan and start requiring
A
people.
lot
to
of the
submit
aluminum
forms.
step ladders don't have bolts and rivets on them
the aluminum step ladders, what do you mean?
Oh, anyways, we got people out there that have, over the years, used homeowners' aluminum ladders they bought at Home Depot for the drop-down.
though. Spray paint black.
And-
Right.
And run a rod through one of the treads, or through one of the rungs, and it just drops down on the rod.
Right, we'll go over that as to what is allowed and what's not allowed. The combustible rule about wood, aluminum, and steel. And we'll tell you, if they did it with or without a permit, if they took away a cantilever and put in a ladder, that's illegal. Because the cantilever has to go back. You can't reduce the system. You can augment the system, but you can't reduce it. So we'll talk about what has to be done with ladders and such. But getting back to the questions, as you can see, now I'm not looking for his opinion. He has to read actual questions here and give me yes, no's on every single one. And then the critical one here is number 19. And 18, it says, anchoring devices are intact and show no visible rust, corrosion, cracking, or other deterioration. That's the visual. But then 19 says, are the connections of the anchors into the building sufficient to support the required loads as verified by methods acceptable to the structural engineer? Internal inspection, load tested, or duplicated connection. What's that mean? This is the critical piece of the puzzle that we now need to share with you guys, and that is other evidence of strength. If I spot repair your fire escape, what are you gonna make me order? What's gonna come right out of your mouth? If I spot repair a fire escape and leave behind original hardware?
Load test.
Load test. So will a load test, when I load test it, verify that it's properly connected to a building?
Sure.
Yeah, that's what you do. You just load test it, and if it doesn't rip out of the building, then it must be good. And we're gonna do this every 5 years anyway, so, and if there's gonna be a failure, it's gonna be a failure every now and then of one connection here or there, because when you load test it, you know, half the platform is gonna like buckle or something, you know what I'm saying? Very rare, there's both sides buckle. But it says here, reinforced or duplicated. Let me show you what other evidence of strength is. A lot of these 50, 75-year-old structures, 100-year-old structures have a veneer wall, masonry block wall, and I'm trying to give you other evidence of strength. In order for me to verify that connection into the wall, which is usually buried 8 to 12 inches deep into the wall,
You have to get to the inside of it.
I have to get a mason guy to come in and remove 4 to 6 bricks, open it all up, verify that no water has been coming through the parapet wall for that little half-inch spacing, and rotting the inside out. And a lot of times, if you touch an old wall, you've got bigger problems trying to put it back together. So we tell people, listen, on a 50, 75, 100-year-old building, instead of spending $200 to $400 for a mason guy to open up every single connection and give you that verification process, because I fixed everything outside, and now I'm gonna open up these walls. No, next to it, 6 inches away, we're gonna drill a 3/4 hole, and we're gonna put in a new Hilti bolt, epoxy bolt in there. If the wall is porous or bad, we're gonna go all the way through and put in a plate on the inside. And that's called duplication, because I don't want to open up this wall. So at the veneer level, if it's cracking and spalling, I'm gonna fix that anyway. But now, I don't care what that support is doing inside the wall, because I'm gonna eliminate it as a concern. I'm gonna epoxy bolt or through bolt it now on this 50 to 75-year-old building, because I wanna give you other evidence of strength so that I don't have to load test. So when we refurb a whole fire escape, 100% of all the bolts on a fire escape, and I through bolted or epoxy bolted back into the building, and I still fix the original, meaning I still pack it and it's still in good order,
Just to get around the load test though? That seems
just to get
ridiculous.
around the load
That
test.
seems ridiculous.
The cost of load testing is ridiculous. And
If I have a
It's a-
four-story full breadth fire escape, and you're gonna change every single bolt on that thing,
yeah,
I don't see how that's cost prohibitive to load testing. I don't-
load testing on a typical 5-story building will load test with a cantilever. Once the market stabilizes, not many guys do it, you're gonna be getting anywhere from probably a $10,000 load test to $15,000 load test. To fully refurb a full 5-story fire escape, okay, full 5-story fire escape with a cantilever, and give it a full paint job, change every bolt, put in silicone in every connection, through bolted, you're gonna be in the no more than $30,000 range for a full refurb. Spot repairing the same fire escape, which has a 50% failure rate, I'm gonna spend at least $15,000 to $20,000 for a spot repair and a full paint. Then I have to add 10 grand to that, if not 15, for the full load test. Now, you're gonna be at 35, 45,000, and I'll see you in 5 years for another 10 to $15,000 load test. If I go to a residential house and has one little balcony, there's $1,000 to $3,000 worth of load testing, just for that residential. It may be $1,000 to $3,000 just to fully repair it and paint it. It's about $5,000 to $10,000 to start replacing fire escapes that are, 1 to 2 stories. Metal is through the roof. Very few guys know how to build these things anymore. So load testing is out there. California is even more. Load testing in California starts 20, 30, 50. We just did the Bob Hope building there, and I believe the load testing was in the $60,000 range. Just for load testing. We have, we're in Eugene, Oregon, and we got a quote for one of the frat houses from a local structural engineer to do a frat house with a mansion with a, you know, up to the second story and third story, stand little baby fire escape, they wanted 20 grand. The whole fire escape was refurbished and repainted to avoid the load test. I think it came in under $13,000. The thing about fire escapes is almost like comparing it to rubber roofs. Every one of these major buildings that has been using asphalt and tar to basically pitch, when they get their rubber roof quote, they freak out. What do you mean, $38,000 to do my roof? It is, but it's also 30 years of guarantee. So the costs associated with spot repairing and load testing, depending on the age of the fire escape, because you give me a brand new fire escape, 10 years old, we're just gonna go through the load test. 1 to 3, 3 to 5, 5 to 8,000, sometimes 8 to 12,000. You know, the bigger, more complex, it's just moving about a bunch of weight. But it's in your code. So, but the majority of your fire escapes, 95% of everything you're ever gonna write a violation on is 50, 75, 100 years old. And we're always trying to give you the other evidence of strength. We're always trying to give you other evidence of strength. The day you put up a brand new one, there is no load test that day.
So that confidence test, the engineer goes down through there, marks everything.
Yep, submits it to you. Pass or fail, he submits this to you.
And so as long as it's all passed, you don't have to load test it either, right?
No, because this confidence test just says that he's verified that there's no rust in any of the internal connections, but it is still a 50 to 75-year-old structure. So it's still got original square head bolts, original rivets, and he's just visually inspected at the veneer wall, the connection into the wall. It is his opinion that the thing looks pretty good.
Well, because the reason I ask is because on there you're saying the recommended time frame after you refurbish is 20 years.
Right, when you refurbish a fire escape, you're putting in, and that's a very good question, I just put in some brand new bolts in all the treads. 5 years from now, one of those treads shear that bolt. Everybody starts getting sued. Who's the main person that's getting sued?
To refer.
No, the bolt company. Can't sue me, I changed the bolt. It was a defect in the bolt. And a bolt can I give you other evidence of strength on a bolt for 20 years? Can I tell you that the bolt is in good order? It was recently refurbished?
Yeah, but so we still, every 5 years, we're gonna come back and say, well, we need
A
We need
load
a
test
test
or
fail
other evidence of
on
strength.
the, but it was just refurbished 5 years ago.
Right.
So where do we get to the point where we can say, well, it's refurbished, you're good until 20 years? I mean, that's what I'm kind of getting at. So at some point, they're gonna say, we just refurbished it 5 years ago. So what's the standard to allow them to continue to use it without load testing it and refurbishing it?
Our recommendation, based on the time it takes for a fire escape that's gonna be properly maintained, properly painted, sealed with 50-year silicone and all the connections, that most likely in 20 to 25 years, your future inspectors are gonna say, that's great, but I need a load test now. And at that time, those people can say, okay, let's load test it, and keep buying these 5-year extensions, which you do for elevators and you do for ladders anyway. Or they say, you know what, maybe it's, what's the cost to change every one of these great bolts, to put in some new fresh bolts?
Mhm.
In our town, we have, similar to Portland, I mean, we're an old town. We have fire escapes that were built in the 1800s.
Yeah,
1850, 60,
right.
tons of them.
Rivets and bolts, just change them out.
That's what.
And then retie it back into the building, keep the originals, retie it back in the building. And there's your other evidence of strength, that's what the code says.
Okay.
Give me other evidence of strength so I don't have to load test that. We don't want to load test, there's a lot of money in load testing. It's a lot of wasted money, buys no paint, buys no bolts. And you're looking for other evidence of strength, because the code is giving you that power. And we're trying to give you the fact that it says, hey, we've just taken out that rivet, we put in a brand new bolt, and if there's a failure on that rivet, who can we go after? The bolt. And that bolt comes with a manufacturer's warranty.
And how long do they warranty bolts for?
It's not, it's just, if there's a defect in that bolt, the bolt company that.
They're gonna get sued.
They're gonna get sued. They're the ones that are gonna carry it, because the vendor did everything possible. The vendor doesn't have to guarantee the bolt, he just has to put a bolt in it. The engineer doesn't have to guarantee the bolt. The engineer says, oh, the only thing you can do here is load test an old bolt or change it to a new bolt to avoid the load test that says the code. We changed it to a new bolt, and the only bolt that gave way was that one bolt up there, and it was brand new. It wasn't an old rivet that we left behind. It was a brand new bolt, so everybody sue everybody, but they're gonna go after the bolt company.
So the bottom line, the thing that's gonna trigger this though, is either a building permit of some type for the structure, or we've been out, we've actually seen, we've identified one of the, what is it, 5 things you talked to me about, whether it's, you know, square bolts, rivets,
Yeah.
rust coming out, bleeding out of the connections, or treads
Yep.
missing, or the ladder is damaged, or the connection to the building. If I see something that stands out to me as, that's a repair problem,
Yep.
then I'm gonna require it. But we're not just out there expecting to see something come in, we're not out there actively enforcing the every 5-year thing. It's, something's gotta trigger that.
For you, yeah, because you don't have the 5-year rule. But if you wanna make an ordinance that says, the law says, like every elevator must be inspected how often? Every year or every 2?
Every year.
Every year?
Mhm.
Sprinklers must be inspected how often?
Well,
Okay?
Yeah.
And if you want the rule to go the way you're talking about, it's this rule. Must be maintained at all times, where you're really asking the owner to self-police. And then when this happened, what did Boston do to their building code? They added the 5-year rule. In Texas, it's every year you must certify your fire escape. In LA and in Seattle, you must do it every, LA it's every, ladder inspections is every year, structural inspections every 5. So it's
but
really
the
up to you
problem is,
what you're
to me,
gonna,
it keeps coming back, in order to certify it, they've either gotta refurbish it, or they're gonna load test it.
right.
We can't expect that these people are gonna do this every year, I mean, even if every 5 years.
No, the rule is every 5. The norm nationwide,
Yeah,
like the state of New Jersey, they have a 5-year state requirement for your entire building. And it is in that time. So they don't have a 5-year rule. They have a 5-year green card certification requirement for your entire building. So fire escapes get scooped up into there. That they need you need a certificate every 5 years. Mass has a 5-year rule. You should have a 5-year rule here that every fire escape must be recertified every 5 years. And you're either gonna load test it or give me other evidence of strength. So if I refurbish this fire escape and I put in a brand new bolt into your building with a backing plate, every 5 years for the next 20 years, I'm gonna keep giving you other evidence of strength. But at any time, you can say, I don't care, give me a load test.
so 15 years after it's been refurbished.
You can
We
say, I
can
don't,
take the test from 15 years ago, as long as there's a visual inspection and it's okay, we can accept it.
it's every 5 years you're gonna do this inspection. But let me throw another one at you, and then we'll open it up for questions. So I did the confidence test for Seattle, we also did Tacoma, we also did Portland, Oregon, and then Tacoma came up with this, and it's basically the 1-year walkthrough. The thing I like about the 1-year walkthrough is that it's not really your test, it's part of your yearly inspections that you go in, but this is for the owner of the building, or the management company of the building, or somebody they assign an agent. And we love this because we joke about this one all the time, because they have 3 simple questions. And it's really, this is really a visual for the owner of the building. Because all they want, indicate the items that have been checked and acceptable. This is an opinion letter here. Bolts and supports are not damaged or rusted. Right? So that's the property manager, that's the building super, whatever. Paint is in good condition. And all moving parts, ladders, catwalk, stairs, windows, and doors are operable and require no special knowledge. Right? And you need the building's address and name and stuff, and somebody needs to sign it down here. And is he the owner, the agent, or other, right? That's the best part, right? You go. And guess where they start? If I have a 5-story building with a ladder to the roof and a cantilever at the bottom, and you do your yearly inspection on that building, how does it start? You just take this, you want them to mail this in to you? Or you want this to be part of your inspection when you go out to visit the building? So you check the alarms, check the batteries, check this, check that, and then at the end, you step outside and say, hey, Charlie, I need that yearly certificate, the yearly walkthrough on your fire escape. Can you do me a favor? Go to the roof, Charlie, climb up over the ladder, and come down the whole system, operate the cantilever, and then sign it for me.
I'm not doing that.
Well, then get me an agent, then get me somebody. I mean, they may call, somebody to do that, but let's say,
Here you go, come
what-
here.
what's Charlie gonna say?
Yeah,
If he has confidence in that the thing is perfect,
sure, no problem, I'll do it right now.
yeah, right, do it right now. Go up, come down, release the cantilever, drops 2 to 3 feet per second, hits the ground, stays down. What do you do? Okay, Charlie, sign there. And where do you take this? Is this part of the 5-year? No, this is the yearly walkthrough. Just another sheet you have as part of your whole visual inspection of a building on a yearly basis. So Tacoma makes their owners do this, which I said, you know what, that's a great idea. Put a little
Yeah.
put a little bit of responsibility back, and the whole thing is the walkthrough. They walk up and over the ladder, which is really for you guys, and if he's scared to do so, I say, what's the problem? Are you crazy? Okay, well then, get me an agent, you know, then hire somebody to do that. And that's when either an engineer or an inspection company is gonna come out and do that for them. It doesn't matter. All right, so, talk about tags. Every fire escape in Seattle has a tag. Every fire escape in Tacoma has a tag. 100%? No. Did they start it? Yes. 5 years ago? Yes. So every fire escape must have a tag. You inspect the fire escape, pass or fail, I gotta give you a confidence test. Pass or fail, I gotta give you a confidence test, because you know immediately, a situation going on of a fire escape. Pass or fail, I want the results. And then if it gets repaired and painted, then I wanna see the repair criteria document that's gonna go to the building department as to which way you're gonna go spot repair and load test, or you're gonna go the full refurb. I wanna know, because I wanna give the guy a heads up that's gonna come and do this thing. At the end, I want a tag on this fire escape. So what you want is these inspections, these inspectors, these engineers, these people to leave behind, when they do the first initial inspection, to leave behind a yellow or red or a white. If the fire escape passes, it's only after the load test can we put a white on there. If the fire escape has some issues, but it's still functional, but it's got rust in the connections, but nothing's fallen, it's gonna get a yellow. And if it has dangling treads and it looks like it's an imminent hazard, gonna get a red. And you need to be notified immediately of this. This tagging program that you're gonna get involved with is really gonna you're gonna get a lot of calls to the mayor, a lot of calls to everybody, basically, when you start. And you need to have a defense, and your defense is, we're not telling people to fix their fire escapes, we're just getting people to tag their fire escapes. It's the same way we tag elevators. We need to know a status condition today, so that when my men go out there and they're gonna use this fire escape, they know whether they can get on it or not. Number two is the tenants in the building need to know whether or not they should be going out there for a smoke or potting their tomatoes or whatever. Because if the fire escape is not in good order, then we need to have a yellow or a red on there. After we get these fire escapes tagged, and I'll put you in contact with Seattle, so you can speak with Jay Farrell there. Sue Volks are in Tacoma, and again, that's fire prevention, and in AJ Jackson over there in Portland, you can ask them what they're doing, how are they implementing, because great ideas are great. Implementation with half staffs and other concerns going on, guess what attention the bastard child is gonna get. So it's a slow process, as long as you add it to your checklist, and as long as you make it the day-to-day, and you remember that it's the second means of egress, and that you can shut down buildings because of it, then this is gonna sort of percolate up a little bit. But you need a system that everybody's double checking everybody, and that is, you're writing the right violation that says repair, paint, test. The engineers are using a standard document that you've agreed upon, is the standard document, pass or fail, we're gonna get one of these. We're gonna get a control document that's gonna be working with the building inspector for the repair aspect of it. We're gonna get some form of tag on these fire escape systems, because we're gonna mandate through an ordinance that all fire escapes be tagged, so that we don't rely on whispers anymore between firemen and whether or not we should use a fire escape. Just tag it. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And with that, what you're gonna get is a system that's gonna probably take 3 to 5 years to implement. And it really starts with your understaffed group, but it really starts with one leader in the group that really wants to start looking at fire escapes on a case-by-case, day-by-day basis, because after a while, you'll get through all of them. You touch literally every building to a certain degree in a certain cycle, whether it's a year cycle, a 3-year cycle, or a 5-year cycle. So if you have it as a checklist, that you're always looking for what's your 2 means of egress, you're at the front of a building saying, hey, great, alarm, this is check, 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 check. Great, by the way, I just need a copy of your certificate. They go, huh? Yeah, what do you have? An inside stair or an outside stair in the back? Oh, it's an outside stair. We're gonna look at it, no, I just need a copy of the certificate. What's that? Oh, okay, you're right there. It's a violation. So you got 30 days, give me my certificate. Oh, but people are coming into the building like in 2 weeks. Oh, then let me go back there and see what the situation is. Okay, original hardware, needs a full paint job. Yeah, you may wanna push that date where everybody's coming in forward a little bit, because I can't let you occupy this building. You currently don't have a certified second means of egress. And the guy's gonna tell you, no, what are you talking about? My contractors were on this thing, everybody was on this thing is great, it's solid, blah. You know, yeah, you're right, you're lucky. But see all that rust, see all that thing? One of these sheds is gonna give way. So right now, I don't want you to use anybody on this. And here's a great thing for you guys to start doing. I need this immediately certified, because any building that is under construction needs to have 2 means of egress for your contracting crew. So a lot of times, when you have a gutted building, you don't do the fire escape last, you do the fire escape first. So you have 2 means of egress, because if there's ever any fires, it's during construction. And if my men have to get in and out of this building, and contractors have to get in and out of this building, it's usually through the front stair or through that fire escape. So before you gut the whole building, I need you to certify the 2 means of egress. So that way, in case there is a problem during construction, we can get in and we can get out. And if you're gonna delay this in any way, then I need you to put in a scaffolding tower on this corner over here. So I'll let you gut the place. If you wanna put fire escapes last, I don't have a problem. But now I need you to get the scaffolding company to put in a tower on this corner of the building, and we'll make that the temporary second means of egress for this whole building during construction. I don't have any problem. I'll put it off. Leave it last. What the hell, I don't care. Where's my tower? So that's how you answered that question. So a lot of people don't realize that fire escapes are first during construction, not last. Because you currently don't have a second means of egress. And plenty of electricians and plumbers and contractors start fires all day long during tear downs and demos. So this is a short one. You actually have the thick one that I gave you that shows, how fire escapes are built. I left you some extras, remember? Of the same book?
Yeah, I get old file and stuff like that.
Okay, I got a thicker book, so this is like, just, the answers for, but now, I mean, we got a nice slideshow and stuff like that, and if you guys wanna walk, did you wanna see,
Yeah, well,
264?
actually, that's a good one to show, because you can see all of the different things you're actually looking for.
Look at 264.
In this case, you see a crazy building owner that's willing to walk out on a fire escape that's getting ready to fall down, and you had to call him back down.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'll walk out there.
Well, they're trying to
Ignorance
prove,
is bliss.
they're trying to prove to you that they got it under control. That they're, and it happens, well, like, this thing was in a state of collapse. And, and it is in a state of collapse, and we were dealing with this, 8 months ago.
February. That's when the fire was. 264 State Street.
Some people are unencumbered by the thought process.
I just don't care
We
sometimes.
actually, there's a good video on that fire on YouTube, and the guy couldn't get to the fire escape because the only access to the fire escape was out of a window at the top of the common stairwell or corridor, which is open to the stairwell, single means of egress inside the building. So he had to go out the window. Unfortunately, there was a little roof there. He had 1 foot in the unit, 1 foot out on this little roof, waiting to be rescued. With the smoke blowing out of the hole that gives you access to the fire escape.
So, our company is unique when we inspect. We're the only ones doing this nationwide. We walk the job, we photograph it, that's part of the confidence testing. And then, once we photographed all the violations, we then will video talk it, send the client this link with a slideshow, and send you the link with a slideshow. That's the confidence test. It's not a construction document, it's not a bid document, it's not anything other than saying, here's what we found, it didn't pass, has life safety issues. Now let's go to the next step, because if the client doesn't want to move to the next step, which this one didn't, what I gotta say, I'm not gonna say let's do it. Farscape Engineers Inspector Summary Video.
This is the
The
guy?
owner of the building is actually gonna now release, must be single action requiring no special knowledge. And so it's got the chain,
There's also another release down here, but
Another one in the background.
Farscape engineers, inspector summary.
I hate it when that happens.
Yeah, it doubles up. You get in the second, you're like, where's that echo coming from?
Now, what was that, a piece of wire that he had wrapped around the top
Yeah.
of that? Yeah.
Piece of wire that you have to know what to do during a fire. You have to know what to
Tell me
do.
how you would, watch out.
That's what he said was malfunctioning.
Okay. Yeah, so it's coming down. You know, just push the ladder forward, and you'll see that that's,
This is an illegal ladder, by the way.
oh, the whole
Can't have ladders
system
like
is
this. Must
busted
come down
out.
and
The
constantly
whole
in the
ladder
head. You
system
can't do
already
this. It's
snapped
illegal.
away, do you understand?
All over the US, it's illegal.
The rail is already snapped away. Do you understand? The rail is in the way though, do you see?
I see it.
Okay, be careful. And you can just leave it, you know, actually just go put it back. I'm gonna show you another thing. It's already snapped down below, so
I see it, so just put it back.
yeah, just put it back the way you have it and
He's
just go
not
back
hostile
up.
with you? He's paying you this way.
Oh, 'cause he
Because
took
it's
a
gonna
while
need
to
some
pay. He
emergency
just paid.
repair.
You know, I think it was like,
Just to
within
get
the
it
past 2
functional
weeks, he
again.
finally paid.
Because right now, we'll probably inspect either from below or we'll go up there
Yeah.
and do the inspection.
That was just to pay for the inspection,
Right.
not to fix it.
How much for inspection?
It was $489, I think,
Where are you located at?
Boston.
You did it for $49?
$489.
Oh, I was gonna say $49.
We charge $189 to $489 dollars for residentials and $289 to $989 for typical commercials. But again, you get a lot of information, which he got.
Okay?
It's gonna show you the
You
whole.
don't have to do that, just leave that off. I would leave that off because there's no way for a fire.
YouTube has gone downhill. I used to be able to watch videos, no problem.
Yeah,
The internet service providers with the problem.
Yeah, I'm actually using the wireless here, and there's only so much thing, but just give it a second. So basically, I'm gonna show you the second plus the slideshow. When I got the guy off of it, the whole cantilever support at the bottom blew all its bolts. The top, all the supports had blown its bolts. We walked around this whole entire building, and we found other ways for him to basically satisfy an egress plan for you to add additional fire escape systems like this all around the building and basically make 100% of all his rooms code compliant.
Or just put a sprinkler system in, right?
Well, that's another one. They get that often. They say, you know what? We'll let you have one staircase and a sprinkler system, okay?
Yeah.
And you don't have to have a fire escape. That actually is talked about throughout the nation, but they forget to include one person in the mix. Your insurance company will not allow it. So if as an insurance company gets to your building, and they go, oh, where's your primary? Right here. Where's your secondary? I don't have one. So what's your secondary egress? Oh, the fire official said I could put in a sprinkler. Okay, but I still want a second means of egress. Where's your second means of egress? I don't have one. Okay, we're gonna cancel your insurance in 30 days until you put a fire escape. So then they end up putting in a sprinkler and a fire escape. And let's say we lose pressure, for whatever reason, there's a loss of pressure on that sprinkler system. What's that gonna do for my second means of egress?
Kills it, but
Kills it.
yeah, the code allows it. I haven't had an issue with insurance companies yet. We got a lot of brand new buildings that have been built in the last 3 or 4 years.
Brand new buildings is different. We're talking about modifying these units where they usually have.
If you're in a high rise, or maybe down in Boston, maybe that is the case, I don't know. But up here,
We
when
go
you
up to
have
4
apartment
stories.
buildings and things like that.
You know, we look for-
Sprinkler
Yeah, I'm talking
systems.
about buildings like this, old mansions that were converted into rooming houses and stuff like that.
So that might
They-
be an issue.
The sprinkler system is very costly to install into one of these things, but the insurance company comes in and basically
So
knocks it out of the way.
that, so that might be it.
Yeah. So let me see if, here you go, now it's clean.
What you're doing, but that's okay. If you're having a break-in issue, just leave it the way it is. All right? And we're probably gonna have to go up there and do an inspection from above. All right, so Inspector Demers, can you tell me some of the things you're finding?
Right away, all original hardware,
All original hardware, yeah?
structural damage down below.
Okay, let's start down here then. The ladder and the rail has actually popped off itself, so the rail's already off the corner here, right? So the rail's not even on the corner anymore, and it's interfering with the flow of the ladder. The ladder itself has been bent from severe trauma, And what else we got? So this is a weld connection. This shows you exactly what happens when welds, you let welds rust from the inside out. So you can actually see the line of the weld. You see the line of the weld?
Yep.
But all of a sudden it snaps. So there's actually nothing holding this staircase up right now, correct? And look straight up into the connection of the weld right there. You see all the rust inside that connection?
Yes.
So that tells you that this right now, the only thing holding up this whole entire staircase is this platform here. So this bracket, and the bracket's already compromised. It's already fallen off. So the only strength it has, which is that diagonal, is not only disconnected at the bottom, it's no longer connected at the top. A lot of that won't come down, so it's not functional. Now talk about the cast iron. See the cast iron on number 2 and number 3?
Yes, all cracked.
Now that usually happens from rust jacking and ice jacking, correct?
Yes.
So as soon as you have a situation where you've got some rust getting in there, the rust will just snap anything that's a cast piece. So that's evidence that there's rust. That one's gone, the next one, 2 or 3 up is another one that's gone and cracked. So that's one of the reasons why they don't use castings anymore. That one straight up is gone, you see that one?
Yep.
So you need to change all the treads, but we have some treads here that are ready to go, correct?
Yes.
But is that a magnet holding up one of the, is that a magnet holding up one of the treads? Right there, see a donut magnet up there? Sure, it's
It's a powerful magnet.
a donut magnet.
He came down on
We
it.
got some treads ready to drop here. All right, let's take a look. So all original hardware on the treads. Let's take a look up there, Steve. It's got a little bit of a tilt, right?
Yes.
She's coming away from the building?
Yep.
But it's all welded connections, right? So those all need to be done. Any of the bottom shot? Definitely pulled away from the building.
On this side here,
Yeah.
take the bottom.
The bottom's gone too? There it is. Yeah, reshoot that.
And got the
The
zoom.
bottom's already separated out, so that the top of the stair,
It's that same camera,
The bottom is
it's
there,
a
right?
75 power
It's ready to-
zoom on that
right
that little
down.
Sony.
All right, all original hardware needs a paint job.
It's a camera and a video
So,
camera, we use it all the time.
it's not ready for a load test. And she just needs to be refurbished.
She's got stabilization.
And then the tiebacks into the building need to be verified from the inside, or we can just do a new connection. This is a masonry block wall, most likely a masonry wall inside, so we can either do a pull test on that, or we can just 5 inches away, we can put another epoxy bolt on this one. You agree?
Yes.
All the railings,
Does it have
it's
to
just
do a pull test?
original hardware. The ladder system is what we don't
No.
like, and this is,
That's just to verify that
because
it's in there
they
properly.
fold out
If
and
we
they
can't get access to the
smash.
back.
So depending who's coming around or who's underneath, should that ladder come down because of wind, because of anything, it hurts somebody down below,
So we
these
can't have
ladders can
these
be
flop out
affixed
ladders, it's legal.
and put it
Should
straight
the
down
code
so that
say
you
that?
jump
It's not in
7
the
to
code,
9
it's
feet
just,
off the
if
ground.
I can,
You can,
Well,
if I can,
you say it's illegal, so.
right, I can
Well,
just,
what
can
I
I
told-
put, can I put glass on top of my wall so kids don't jump over my wall? And cement glass, yeah, people used to cement glass on top of walls, so kids, can I put razor blades on my new radio that I've installed in my car? So when somebody tries to steal the car radio, and I glued razor blades to it, can I do that?
Only if you wanna get sued when you're done.
Well, I understand what you're
Is
saying.
it somewhere
I
in the
understand
code?
what you're saying, but if I write a guy a violation and say, you can't have a drop-down ladder,
No, not drop down ladder. This is called a fold out ladder.
fold-out ladder.
In the
Fold-out.
code, you can build ladders. There's nothing in the code that says you can build it this way. This is a modified ladder. And what it is basically a ladder that comes out, flops out. So, and I just said now, if we get a fire, the wind, and the guy forgot to put the chain on this, some heavy wind comes along, and this thing just swings out like it's pivoted here, right?
Right,
And there's a little kid walking home from school,
sure, of course.
hits him in the head.
I understand what you're saying.
So, the first thing that the lawyer's gonna do is say, hey, show me the code where you can build it that way. The code says I can build a fixed ladder, I can build a drop ladder, controlled drop ladder, 2 to 3 feet per second with weights and such.
Right.
I can have one of those other ladders that look like a drain pipe when they close, and then they open up and flop out and they make a ladder. It's called a fold out ladder. Can I make a flop out ladder? No. There's no way in the code that shows me how to build it that way. So people came up with this, thinking that and the reason why it's bent, you see how
It's
the
'cause
ladder's
it's
bent?
on the ground.
It slams on the ground and it keeps warping. And aside from that, guess when I'm getting out of the fire and you guys are just arriving on the scene, you're just coming around the corner, I'm like, ha! And I go like that, perfectly timed, what am I gonna do to your skull when this thing comes down?
Well, hopefully I'm wearing my helmet, so.
It's still gonna put you out. So the main thing about it is if it can cause injury or death, then it's illegal. Well, what does that say in the code? I've just proved to you that it can cause injury or death. That means you can't do it. So usually in the code somewhere it says that it was never designed to be built that way. So if somebody builds it the way they want, this is what it is. So it's not in the code not to build it this way. There's nothing in the code that says you can build it this way.
One of the things that's very easily in life safety to look at is this, a drop-down stair, or a drop-down ladder has to be from the lowest platform. There's not even a platform there.
Yeah.
Put it to one side. You can also put a little platform here. Usually these have a little bit of a platform, and you can put the ladder here and make it so that it drops down and guillotines straight down. These fold out, and at the discretion of the building official, if they can cause any harm, they need to be modified so that they're more of a permanent. And usually it's 7 to 9 feet off the ground, you can jump to the ground.
The last
And I would
run
do
is
that, I
7
would do
feet
that
from
with this
the
one.
ground.
I would create a little bit of a platform here.
That's what we're gonna do there.
And then put a ladder right
Just
there.
take the ladder away,
And then the last run
and
is
then
7
make
to
a
9
path
feet off
through
the
the
ground, you just
ladder.
jump. And it's-
and you don't even have any room for a platform there, so
Okay.
we're gonna make it probably a double
Any other
step.
questions or any other
So that gives you
observations that you see on
basically
this
turn
one?
around, there's a chain there.
Okay,
So you walk through the ladder, you walk down, then you jump the last 7 feet to the ground.
Staircase.
Because nobody wants a ladder all the way to the
Down
ground.
here,
You know
and
what I'm
up
saying?
there has the same issue, so it's the
You're
platform
talking
of
about
the
the ones
staircase is
that,
unsupported.
they hinge up like this. You're talking about a ladder that.
Yeah,
does
he
this.
was given that option, he didn't wanna go that route. He just
I've
wanted
seen
a
that.
ladder.
I've seen a lot of fire escapes that have a platform and then a ladder that goes to the next platform and then a ladder that goes to the next.
Correct.
That's not legal.
No, it is, pre-existing condition. You can't build a new one, you can't build any more ladders now on new construction. Every fire escape I've built for you brand new on a pre-existing structure, not a new structure, pre-existing structure, it's gotta be platform stairs to the ground. No ladders. Any fire escape that has existing ladders, I can maintain those indefinitely for the life of the building. I could always increase it to stairs, but you can't force them. You can't force on your fire code anybody to bring it up to code. If they have a pre-existing condition, they can maintain it indefinitely.
Okay.
Okay. Should have nobody on it. Okay, any questions, fire escape engineers, inspector summary video? Inspector Vanessa.
How many guys you have?
Inspector Demers.
Inspectors nationwide, probably have about 10. We have an